Or can I just say something first?
It's me starting out here.
We're swapping. When Charlotte said to me, you know, would you like to come and have a little chat? I thought that was a room with 10 people and a little chat. So the reason I've got red shoes on is so that I could escape quicker if things didn't quite go according to plan. And yeah, so I'm having a bit of a shock at the moment.
Så mens Carl han lige kommer til terms med, at der er så mange mennesker, så vil jeg gerne selvfølgelig byde Carl Hester rigtig velkommen til Herning, og det er jo ikke første gang, han har været i Herning, og jeg håber, I har gode spørgsmål, og I får nogle gode idéer, hvad der sker i Carls træningsjahr. Hvis I har spørgsmål i løbende interview, så må I lige række hånden op, og jeg vil gerne hjælpe jer, hvis I ikke er helt formålig med engelsk til at oversætte for ham. Så bare op med hånden, og så får vi spurgt nogle spørgsmål, hvad I gerne vil vide. Alright, Carl. I think it's very exciting you're back in Herning again. Last time you went home with all the medals, and this time you are going home with a sore bum. Right. Which means a lot of young horses will be ridden this afternoon and tomorrow morning. But how did it all start for you? I know you're coming from a little island which in equivalent in Denmark would be Bornholm, and there is not really that much going on your little island back in Saar, but where did you get your passion from for the horses?
Okay, well, the island I come from is like 3.5 miles long and 1.5 miles wide. So 600 people live there. They're not all my relations. They are, but you know everybody, obviously, when you live on a very small island. And my mother was working in a hotel there. And she was left a very small house by her godmother, so that's why we were living there. And the island also has no cars, so the only way to get around is on bicycle, or on a horse, or on a horse and carriage. Even the doctor goes on a bicycle. So, you know, when there's an accident, you know if it's serious how fast the doctor's going. He goes past on the bike. It's a very cute place to be brought up, and I had a really lovely childhood there. But horses was not in my family, but I just loved playing with the horses. But they're mostly working horses, so it's a seasonal island, so it's just for tourists. They come normally from April till October, and so my summer job, obviously when I was on holidays, was to be on the carriages with the drivers, and I always rode the horses back to the field after work and things like that, and I just loved it, and I lived for it, and I wanted to do it every day. And probably like a lot of children, you know, whenever I heard a horse go past the window, I'd literally like knock the door open to go and see who it was, and pull them off so I could have a ride.
I have to say, I've had the opportunity to go to Saar, and it is one of these really beautiful, quiet island. What of course shocked me most is you come in with a little boat and you walk up a long hill, and of course on top of the hill there is a pub, so that's always a good start. And the next thing next to the pub, you just see, because there is no cars, I just saw this big trailer with the Red Cross on, which was the ambulance being pulled by a tractor. Then I thought, I was like, wow, what are we moved back to? It is really coming back in time. So.
Well, the best description I ever heard, because obviously a lot of people that live there, they drink a lot. So the best description of Saar I ever heard was 600 alcoholics clinging to a rock. And I thought that was a really great way to describe it. Don't show this to the Channel Islands. But I moved from there, I went to boarding school, and then yeah, when I was 15 years old, there was a lady that lived on the island, and she had a riding school in England. And so she said to me, would I like to come and do my qualifications to be what they call a British Horse Society trainer. So we all thought it was a good idea that I left home. So at 15, much to my mum and my father's joy, I left home and came to England, and then I started to train to be an instructor and started riding, and I think they could see at the centre where I was working that I really wanted, I was competitive,
Maybe just got a tiny bit of talent as well.
Well, I mean, I was very small. I didn't grow till I was about 17. So when I was 15, I was still like 5'4". So I was quite small, and I had written to Newmarket, and I said I'd like to be a jockey, and they didn't accept me in Newmarket. And then obviously I grew when I was 17, and then I started eventing, and which is literally where I met Ulrich. I was an event rider. Ulrich was an event rider. I used to jump clear around Ulrich, had 8 down. That's a funny story where the first time. But his friend said to me, I have these Danish friends, you have to meet them. So I said, okay. So we were at horse trials, and Ulrich was about to jump his show jumping round. So she said, come and watch Ulrich jump. Well, if there were 12 fences, 8 fell down. So, this is a good rider from Denmark. We're going to be friends, and that's where we met. I know it's supposed to be about me, but you also need to be humiliated as well. So.
I was being put in my place because I've basically just been moving to the UK and I've just become the Danish champion in 3-day eventing. And of course, like when you move to the UK, that is the hottest place to be. So of course, I was like all the bee's knees, and really, I was the best in the world. I quite quickly got put in my place, I have to say.
So I started life as an event rider, as did you. And I think it's really good, well certainly in England it's always encouraged, you have to do everything. You know, you should not specialise, you should not just be a dressage rider or just a jumping rider. So I learned my eventing, and I was eventing up until I met Dr. Bechtel-Simon, and I had a telephone call and they asked me to go for an interview, and I was trying to make my own business, and that was impossible really because I wasn't very well known, and like everybody, you know, running a yard doesn't make any money. It's just like you work as many hours as you can stay awake, and you know, it was hard to make a living. And then Dr. Bechtel-Simon called me and said, would you like to come for an interview? And so I said, I would love to go for an interview. So I had to borrow a car. I didn't have a car, so I turned up, and the car was so bad I had to park it outside the gates, leave it there, and I thought it was better to walk into the drive than drive into the drive. So I walked into the drive, and I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of Dr. Bechtel-Simon's place, but that's quite something. And I had never seen anything like this. This was like, you know, they had moved to live in England, and they had brought with them the German way of dressage and the German stables and horse walkers, indoor school, outdoor school. I know everybody nearly has them now, but then, certainly in England, I'd never seen anything like it. And I was very excited in my interview. And my test was, he put me on an old horse and said, had I ever done one-time changes before? I said, no, I had never done one-time changes. So he said, left leg, right leg, left leg, right leg. So I went, okay. So off on the diagonal, left leg, right leg, and I did 15 one-time changes, and I think that got me the job. So then 1 week later, he called me and said they would like me to start if I wanted to. So, and as everybody knows, I mean, if I didn't have that leg up, I mean, there are lots of talented people in dressage and eventing and jumping, but sometimes everybody needs, you need a help.
A bit of luck, yeah.
And Dr. Bechtel-Simon was my bit of luck.
Yes.
And obviously, it's quite funny now because, I mean, there's Laura, who you know, Laura Bechtel-Simon's my teammate now, but Laura was this big when I went there, and she was a difficult little girl. And she didn't like me, and I didn't like her. And so it was a difficult...
But you have got a couple of funny stories with Laura, how you actually, did you lock in the technique?
Yeah, things didn't get off to a good start, because Laura literally was 4 years old, and part of my job was to teach her on her pony. And you know, when you are like, I mean, I was 21 or 22 years old, so you know, you can be quite evil when you're that age. So I would always put the jump this high when it should have been this high. Laura was always falling off and crying and didn't want to ride, and yes, that's what I was trying to do. So, and then one day I locked her in the feed room, which was, I only meant to do it for a few minutes. And, you know, to give Laura her due, she never cried. She just stayed in the tack room, the feed room. I forgot. I went there 3 hours. One of the girls opened the feed room to get the feed ready, and Laura was just crying her eyes out. And I knew when she ran off to the house, I thought, this is my first telling off.
First warning.
First warning. So yeah, but I had a lot of fun there, and obviously it's fantastic now. 25 years later. And Laura and I are on a team together. Thankfully we get on very well now, so yeah, it's been an amazing circle, and I think it must be really lovely for the Bechtelheimers to have given somebody like me, and there were some other riders as well afterwards, all that help. And then finally though, you get your daughter to be interested, and obviously that must be very rewarding for them, and to see her so successful on a Danish horse, of course.
Selina.
Exactly.
Right, so that was basically all you basically got out of Bechtelheim, and you moved on to start up your own business. You've been on the circuit for a long time, dragging around to Slovenia, Spain, and so suddenly we got the horses, we're ready to wow the world. And you got Utopia, you got Charlotte in the yard, everything started looking good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what, it looks like you've only been doing it for 5 years because you have some amazing horses, but in fact I've been doing it for 20, I rode my first team in 1990, so, 25 years. And I had some very good horses on the way. I mean, I had Giorgione at Dr. Bechtelheimer's. And I think all of us know, when you get older, if I knew now, if only I knew what I knew now, I could have, Giorgione probably would have been, a medal horse. And Escapado, of course, he was really a top horse as well, but I was also a little bit inexperienced. And then finally I get these two horses and my experience that I can put together better. And, riders are very lucky if you have one great horse in your life. But for me to have had two of the best horses in the world in my life has been hard work. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, but very lucky because, of course, I know that, if I don't get another great horse like one of those two, then I'm lucky to have had it. Poor Charlotte has only ever had one horse, a brilliant horse, and she thinks all the rest of the horses in the world for the next 20 years are going to be like Allegro. So she's going to have a shot because they are very special horses. Utopia I found when he was 4 years old, and Allegro when he was 2 years old. So they are like your family, and you know them so well. And I always think that if you're going to win a gold medal, it's about you have to have that long-term relationship. You can't just get on another gold medal horse and win a gold medal. I mean, it is the fact that you know each other so well from being in all the young horse classes together, the next classes, and I mean, both of those horses we've ridden all the way up. So it's been a blessing to have them, really.
Yes. And we see Charlotte start competing Utopia. Mm-hmm. Would we ever see Mr. Hester on the leg run?
No way.
It looks a bit like there's a bit of horse walking going around.
No, I mean, Charlotte likes to. Charlotte would kill me if I said I was going to shoot Allegro.
So right.
Allegro, we have a really good relationship in that we swap horses at home. So what she's good at, then I sometimes put her on my horses, and what I'm better at, I get on her horses. So, also if you look back in history at the people at the top as well, there's always two people. You never just see one person making it on their own. There's always two people, either trainer and rider, very close, trainer and rider, or rider and rider, however you like to look at it. And so we have that very close relationship with the horses as well. Allegro, there is no other way for anybody else except down, me included. So I think that would be, and my pleasure is watching her riding. I mean, really, I still can sit there every day, and I'm never bored of watching it. I'm always looking at it in unbelief, disbelief, sorry. I can't believe that such an amazing horse keeps going around every day like he does. He is pricked and never has a bad day, never doesn't want to work. Never has a sick day.
But you sound a little bit like Mother Teresa, because I think most riders or most top trainers would maybe take the best horse themselves and put the student on the second best.
No, I know how to make friends at work. No, that's not my pleasure. I mean, I had Utopia. To be honest, in the beginning, because, you know, I didn't own all of Utopia, so the reason that I took Utopia is because she said she didn't want anyone else to ride it. So then I thought with Allegro, what is the point in wasting 2 top horses and keeping them both for me? The only way that, you know, Great Britain's going to win a medal is if we have this horse on the team as well. So rather than keep the 2 horses for me, and Charlotte had been my groom and was obviously showing a lot of talent, so I said, you start this off, let's see how it works. And obviously it just went beyond all of our dreams. Of course we didn't know we were looking at a gold medalist. We knew he was an amazing horse, but I mean, we didn't know he was the gold medalist when he was 4, 5, 6, 7. He just kept getting better and better, and then suddenly you could see what was happening. So I think the fact that that she's taken it on is absolutely perfect. And like I said, I mean, there's a lot of children sitting here. I imagine also that not everybody can have the best horse, the best pony. But I mean, actually, when you hear stories like, you know, what's behind a top rider, what's behind a top horse, and that Charlotte, was a groom, as was I, and you can make it through hard work, and you can make it through good opportunities. I think they're fantastic stories that everybody then thinks, yeah, that might be me, rather than it always having to be, you must be born to a horsey family, you must have to have a lot of money, you must have to have all of these things that you imagine we have at the top. And I always say in England, because people always say, lucky Carl and Charlotte, they have all the top horses bought for them, and I'm like, Carl and Charlotte actually make their own horses. You buy them when they're young. Of course not all of our horses make it to be top horses, but you make it through riding every day, no excuses, and learning to ride better. So that is, I think Charlotte's story, particularly now because it's modern and she's the gold medalist, I think that's inspirational for other people.
It is very much so. I'm sure a lot of you in the audience would be very interested to hear what is the normal routine in a week at Carl Hester's yard, and also again a little bit about your training methods. And
yeah, we have a stable, 18 horses in the stables, and it's very private. I don't have other people riding with us. I want to try and keep it for ourselves so that we have time for concentration. And it always starts in the morning with Charlotte riding first, of course, and I sit and watch her, and we always keep the top horses individual. So Allegro always goes for his hack first with his groom, then he's in the school at 7:45, Charlotte warms him up, and then we train him sort of at 8 o'clock for half an hour. And then, I do dances with Wolves, who's my coming Grand Prix horse. And she has to sit and watch me, which she doesn't like so much, of course, so it's always a shared thing, and then we ride together. So we have, I have 5 people working for me, so you can see why it doesn't make money. You can't have 5 people working for you just with 18 horses and think that, and we're going to be very rich as well. But I do it because I want the horses to be done properly. So 5 people is a lot of people for 18 horses. But then we can do things the way I want to do it. And all the horses have to, they have to be really out of their stables for half an hour, 45 minutes before we get on them. So that's relaxation, hacking, moving on different surfaces. They hack on the road, go on the grass, go in the arena. We're very aware because we have